The mink is a semi-aquatic relative of the weasel. It is a proficient swimmer, a territorial neighbor, and a surprisingly tenacious predator. This animal may not look like much of a fighter, but the mink can take down prey that's almost as large as itself. Even large predators must be careful about how to approach this rather tetchy animal. Because it spends a great deal of time in the water, the mink has a water-repellent coat laced with oil. Its fur is considered to be such high quality that the mink has remained a vital part of the fur trade for centuries. It is still raised in captivity all over the world. The mink is one of the main non-human carriers of the COVID-19 virus. The country of Denmark ordered that their captive minks should be culled after it was discovered that a new strain of the virus was infecting the species and possibly spreading to a few people, but the effectiveness of this action was controversial and debated. Much like the closely related ferret, some people keep the mink as a pet, but because of its wild instincts and very specific needs, it is an immense challenge to keep around the home. The American is generally the larger of the two species. It weighs 1.5 to 3.5 pounds and reaches 18 to 28 inches long, with half of that just being the tail. The European, on the other hand, weighs 1 to 1.6 pounds and measures 12 to 15 inches long. Both species are significantly smaller than the otter but about the same size as a ferret. Females tend to be smaller than males on average. The mink's entire lifestyle revolves around the ability to switch between terrestrial and aquatic motion at any time. With its incredible webbed feet, the mink is a fast and agile animal in the water. It can swim to depths of 100 feet but almost never ventures far from land. Unlike the closely related otter, the mink swims high on the surface and creates a V-shaped wave with its nose. When it isn't in the water, the mink walks on the ground with a hopping or bounding motion. It can also climb trees to chase prey or escape danger. The mink is what's known as a crepuscular species. It is highly active during the dawn and dusk hours as it searches of prey. It also tends to spend the rest of the night awake in some capacity. Except for the relationship between the mother and her kits, the mink is an animal with no social organization to speak of. Instead, it lives and hunts almost entirely on its own and only tolerates the presence of other minks in the breeding season. The mink is very aggressive toward other members of the species who trespass on its territory. Males are especially vicious toward other males who have nothing to offer them except for additional competition. Males are usually much more tolerant toward females. In fact, male and female territories sometimes overlap with each other. The mink's sense of vision and hearing are both highly developed, but the main means of communication is scent. The enlarged anal gland produces a rather pungent smell to mark territory as a warning against potential interlopers. Minks rarely make sounds except to express their agitation or displeasure. The mink is split geographically between North America and Europe. The American mink has an extensive range across almost all of Canada and the United States except for the extreme Arctic regions and the hot Southwest. The European mink once occupied a massive range across almost all of Europe, but due to decades of population loss, it is now only found in small pockets across its former territory. It is almost completely gone from Western and Central Europe. Minks are well adapted to lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams with extensive tree cover. Their homes consist of hollow legs or underground dens lined with grass, leaves, or the fur of their prey. The mink often keeps multiple dens around its large territory. These animals will hunt almost any small to medium-sized prey that lurks around freshwater shores: mice, rabbits, muskrats, fish, frogs, snakes, crayfish, and even waterfowl. Sometimes they supplement their diet with little bits of plant matter as well. Their main hunting strategy is to get behind its prey and deliver a swift bite to the neck. If the animal is simply too large to consume in one meal, then the mink will store the leftover meat in its den for safekeeping. This is a promiscuous animal that likes to hook up with multiple mating partners throughout the breeding season, which typically occurs in February and March. The scent of the anal gland is believed to play an integral role in the process of attracting and securing a mate. After the pair copulates, the female has the ability to delay implantation for up to 2 weeks, resulting in longer birth cycles than would otherwise be expected. Both the American mink and European mink have similar gestation periods, 40 to 75 days and 35 to 72 days, respectively. At the end of the gestation period, the female produces a small litter of 1 to 8 kits. Since the kits are completely dependent and vulnerable, it takes several weeks before they will open their eyes. The mother must provide for their care without any assistance from the father. The kits are weaned off their mother's milk at 6 to 10 weeks of age and shortly after begin consuming meat. Both species reach sexual maturity at 10 to 12 months, but it takes the American mink slightly longer than its European counterpart to achieve full independence. Both species live around 10 years in the wild.